Friends, did you know that economics is a concept that we apply in our day-to-day lives on a regular basis? Confused, right? You must be thinking that without even learning the subject or understanding it on a conceptual level, how can I possibly apply it in my day-to-day life? Let me explain. You have a limited amount of time in a day, 24 hours to be exact, not a minute more, not a minute less. In those 24 hours, you want to do so many things. You want to study, you want to meet your friends, you want to watch movie or play games. But tell me honestly, can you do all those things in just one day? No. You allocate time. You allocate time in the one in that day. You allocate time that you have to doing those things that mean the most to you, and the things that could not be done are postponed to the next day or later. Friends, economics is all about that. In economics, we learn how we allocate a limited amount of resources to fulfill our unlimited wants. In this example, also, the limited amount of resources being the time, and the unlimited wants are the things that we want to do in that one day. Right now, when you're watching this video, you are all actually applying the concepts of economics. Trust me, you could have done anything else. You chose to allocate that limited amount of time, a few minutes of that limited amount of time to watching this video. You allocated your limited amount of resources for fulfilling unlimited wants. Friends, my name is Ram and you're welcome to my channel CAZ. I'm going to teach you business economics. Today we are starting with the chapter 1. Before we go to business economics, I want you to understand the basic concepts of economics first. And then we will understand how those concepts of economics are applied in the business practice. Shall we start? Chalo. So, economics introduction. Economics is based on two fundamental facts. One second. So economics is based on two fundamental facts. What are the facts? See, economics is a theory. So you would say that economics, the theory is based on assumptions. But this is different. Please understand that economics is based on facts. It is the study of how individuals interact with each other in an economic environment. It is based on real life scenario. So what are the two fundamental facts of economics? So first is human wants are unlimited. See, in the previous example also, we saw that there are so many things that you want to do, but you cannot do all those things in one day. So here also they are saying that human wants are unlimited. Second fact, the means, the resources to satisfy those unlimited wants are relatively scarce. So the means, the time in the previous example also, see the 24 hours is a long time, but that 24 hours is limited to do in relation to the things that you want to do. See, here the word relatively is very important. You have 24 hours is a long time, as I said, but to do all those things it is relatively scarce. Please understand that. So these are the two fundamental facts that we understood: human wants being unlimited and resources or means, anything you can say, are relatively scarce. Okay. Next, economics is a process. What process? So economics is a process of allocation, transformation and distribution. Allocation of what? Allocation of scarce resources to the highest value users. So why do we have to allocate scarce resources? Let's try to understand it with an example. Take for example grapes. Everybody likes grapes, right? So there are so many things that you can make out of grapes, but for this example let's take only two things that you can make out of grapes. Say one is wine and the other one is juice. So for example, there are only these two things that you can make out of grapes. And the grapes are what? Limited resources or scarce resources, whatever you say. Limited resources. They are saying the process of economics includes the allocation of limited resources. Why do we have to allocate grapes? Because it is limited. In the previous example also the time was limited, so I said that you have to allocate time to the things that you want to do the most that mean the most to you, how they are important on the basis of importance, prioritize, you say, right? So you have to allocate. Why do we have to allocate? We understood what is allocation, but why? Because they are limited. If they were unlimited, you would not have to, there was no need to allocate them. And and there are so many uses of grapes, and they are saying that you have to allocate between the uses of grapes. If they were not allocated, what would happen? Say all the grapes were used to making only wine, then there will be no juice. Or all the grapes were used only to make juice, then there will be no wine. So that's why they these things, the grapes have to be allocated. On what basis, you would ask? On the basis of highest value uses. What are the uses of those limited amount of limited resources which give the highest value in terms of in the monetary terms, in terms of profit? How what benefit, how much benefit they are giving? Say highest value that you derive from using grapes is by manufacturing wine, and less from juice. So more wine will be produced as compared to juice. That's how we allocate the limited amount of resources, on the basis of highest value uses. That one point has been understood. Second point, transformation of scarce resources into goods and services. So what are the what is transformation? So transformation of scarce resource, again grapes. Grapes ka kya transformation? Transformation into the fine finished goods, wine or juice, into goods and services. If these grapes are just kept in the go down and no wine or juice has been made, their economic process is incomplete. So to complete the second step of economics, you have to transform them into goods and services. In this case, grapes are transformed into wine or juice. Third point, distribution of these goods and services. These goods and services being the wine or juice. Distribution. Why is distribution important? Why is the last process in economics? Because those scarce resources used to which are used to transform into goods and services, those goods and services has to be distributed where the consumer, the end user, is located. See that those goods and services have to reach. So that is the process of economics. It reach the consumer. So it starts with using the scarce resources, transforming them, and then distributing them to be consumed. Okay, that is the process of economics. Next, see, friends, economics is divided into two basic concepts. One is microeconomics and other one is macroeconomics. Meaning of micro is small, but let's understand that it is not a small part of economics. It is just that it is allocated to a small number of units, or small number of users, or small number of individuals. That's why the name micro. So what do we study in microeconomics? We study the behavior of individuals and organization. So when I'm talking about one particular consumer, one particular individual, one particular organization, I'm talking about microeconomics. See, microeconomics is focused only on small number of units or group of units. It is not concerned with the whole nation, the whole population, all the organizations, all the individuals in the world. It is focused only on a limited amount of people, individuals, and how they behave is what economics tells us. What is microeconomics all about? Let's understand. So first, product pricing. How a product is priced. On what basis do we decide the product pricing? Is what product pricing is all about. Second point, factor pricing. What is a factor, you would ask? Say for example, there are things that you need to start a business. You need land, you need labor, you need capital, you need machines. These are called factors. These are the factors. See, only when you have resources, like for example grapes, can you just transform them automatically into wine or juice? No, you need these things. You need land where you can set up your manufacturing unit. You need laborers, you need machines, you need money so that you can process it and transform them into goods and services. So these are the factors. And what is pricing? Factor pricing is telling you about how much of the money, what is the monetary value that should be spent on the land, on the machines, what is the value, what is the labor rate that has to be to be taken into consideration. So that is what factor pricing is all about. Third point, consumer behavior. How is consumer behaving when the price is going up or the price is going down? What is the change in demand of that consumer? Okay, that is consumer behavior. Next is behavior of firms. Same way, firms also behave when the price is going up or price is going down. The behavior of firms also changes. Their supply would change with the increase in price. The supply will go also increase. Next point, location of industry. Very important. Location. Where would you locate your industry? You need to understand that location of industry would depend on the factors, availability of factors, resources also, and consumers. There should be a demand of the product. If there is no demand, Why would you locate that? Where, if there are factors, the laborers are not available easily, the land is not available easily, or the resources that you want to transform are not available. What's the point of locating that industry in that location? So the location is very important. Last point in microeconomics is the economic condition of section of people. So it is not talking about, I would have not used the word section here, I would have removed it if I was talking about all the people in the world, all the people in the country, every person. But I am talking about only a section of people. And what about those section of people? The economic condition of those section of people, what are their income levels, poverty, standard of living. That is what economic condition is all about. So with this we are done with microeconomics. Let's start with macroeconomics. We understood micro is a small part, micro being small, macro means large. So it is again not a large part of economics, but it is concerned on large aggregates. Okay? So economics is overall economic environment. What is an overall economic environment, you would ask? So suppose this circle is a whole economic environment. There are individuals and there are organizations. These individuals and organizations interact with each other. Buying, the consumer buys, the manufacturer, the industry, the organization sells, and there are other individuals also in this economic environment. There are other industries also. These industries, these individuals, how they interact with each other is all this. In this they interact in the economic environment. So it studies the whole economic environment overall is the word. And the next point is we study the behavior of large economic aggregates. Say for example steel industries, cement industries for example. So when you are talking about, for example, when you are talking about only Tata Steel, you are talking about microeconomics. And you are talking about all the steel industry, all the aggregates as a steel industry as an aggregate, you are talking about macroeconomics. So large economic aggregates. Okay, next, what do we study in macroeconomics? First is national income and national output. What is it? National income and national output is about what the value of goods and services produced by the country. Okay, what kind of value? The monetary value, the output, the quantitative value. That national income and national output talks about that. Next point, the general price levels and interest rates. So what are the general price levels in the whole country? How all the goods and services produced by the country, what are their price levels? What are the interest rates in the country? Like for example, borrowing rate. Third, balance of trade and balance of payment. So basically one country, take for example India. India does not sell those goods and services within the country itself. It does not consume it in within the country. It sells to the other countries also. It purchases some goods and services from other countries also. That transaction is called import and export. So in that import and export of trading or trading of goods, balance of trade and balance of payment comes into the picture. For example, India made an export to another country, say for example America. So India made an export of 1000 crore. Okay, just for example sake, 1000 crore of sales made in by India to America. And India also imported goods and services from America. There was import of 800 crore. So there is what we call, see, in case of export, you are selling those goods to America, then you will receive money, right? And when you imported goods, that means you are buying from America, you will have to pay money, right? So what is the difference? You have to still 200 crore rupees worth of money, monetary value of goods and services has to be still receivable from America. And that is why there is no balance. If this transaction was equal, 1000 crore export, 1000 crore of import from by India, it would have been a balance equal. But there is a 200 crore balance receivable worth of goods receivable from America. Then that's why there is a balance of trade. Then what you would ask, what is balance of payment? See, balance of trade is one thing, but balance of payment includes balance of trade and other capital transactions between the two countries. When, for example, one country is borrowing from other country, so that will also be included in balance of payment. Balance of payment means the monetary value of the transactions between the two country. So that is which includes also balance of trade. Next point, external value of currency. What is the value of your currency? Our currency is rupee. How strong is the value of the currency in as compared to the other currencies available? Say for example dollars. How strong is the rupee as compared to the dollar? That is what we learn in external value of currency. Next point, the overall level of savings and investment. See, when you're talking about one particular individual, you would say that this person has invested this much amount of money in fixed deposits, but it is talking again about overall level of savings and investment. So all the aggregates, all the individuals, all the organizations, everyone, how much of their what is the level of their savings and investment is what we learn in macroeconomics. Last point in macroeconomics tells us the level of employment and the rate of growth, economic growth. So when you say that what is, how many people are employed, how many people are unemployed, what is the level of employment, you are talking about level of employment in macroeconomics. And when you're saying that what is the how the economy is growing, is it growing or is it declining, or at what rate it is growing? So that's when you're talking about economic growth, the rate of economic growth. With this we are also done with macroeconomics. Let's see what else is there. So next is economic issues. You would say that why am I learning economics? I'm just You are not learning for the sake of it. We have to apply it is a factual theory, and we have to apply it in reality in the business practice. So there are issues that economics as a theory tackles. What are those economic issues? See, one is price of individual commodity and general price levels. How how a price of a commodity is changing vis-a-vis the change in the general price levels of all the commodities of all the goods and services. That has to be seen in economics. Second, economic prosperity. See here, prosperity and poverty. Prosperity of one country, some countries, and poverty in others. That is an economic issue. It is imbalance. See, higher standard of living of some countries and poor standard of living of other countries. Again, economic imbalance. So that has to be balanced. Okay? Third point, some firms making extraordinary profits and others closing down. See, for example, there is a live example in front of you. There are sellers listed on online portals like Amazon, Flipkart. Those are making huge profits, but those retailers who are not listed on those online portals are closing down because they are not getting that much business. Again, an issue of imbalance, economic imbalance. So that's what economics helps us to tackle those problems. Okay? With this we are done with the introduction of economics. That's all for today. I'll be pinning a question based on the today's concept in the comment section. So let's see who answers correctly. Okay. Also, I'll be pinning another comment for any queries you have. Feel free to put all your queries in that pin. Okay. Uh, let's find out how economics helps us run a business in the next video. If you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you are notified whenever when I post next video. I'll be teaching the entire syllabus of business economics in the upcoming videos. Bye.